Prince William grew up in a world where every move, every smile, and even every quiet moment was noticed. From the time he was a young boy walking behind his parents during important ceremonies, he learned that being part of the royal family meant carrying a certain image. People expected calmness, politeness, and dignity. They expected him to look confident, even on days when he might feel unsure or tired. That expectation did not come from one person. It came from tradition, hundreds of years of it. To the public, the royal family represented stability, and stability meant never showing too much emotion. As William grew older, he started to understand the weight of this responsibility. He saw how his father, King Charles, handled endless events with grace. He noticed how his grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, always appeared calm and steady, no matter what was happening around her. She had mastered the art of staying composed, and the world admired her for it. William learned from their example, but he also sensed that behind those perfect smiles and measured words were real human feelings. The royals were not cold or distant. They simply learned how to carry themselves in a way that comforted the nation. People wanted to believe that their leaders were strong and unwavering. So, for much of his life, William practiced the same. He greeted crowds with gentle smiles, bowed politely, shook hands gracefully, and spoke with kindness and care. He learned how to stand straight during long ceremonies, how to make eye contact without staring too long, and how to answer questions without revealing more than he should. It was a life of great privilege, but also of great discipline. But even the strongest discipline cannot erase the natural emotions that live inside a person. William felt joy, sadness, surprise, frustration, and kindness, just like anyone else. The difference was that his emotions were expected to stay behind an invisible curtain whenever he stepped into public view. That curtain was not something he angrily fought. It was simply part of the role he was given. Still, there were times when the curtain moved just a little, and those moments showed something warm and very human in him. These softer moments began even when he was a child. People sometimes recall seeing William playfully joking with his mother, Princess Diana, at public events. Diana had a special ability to make her sons feel comfortable, even when cameras flashed around them. She believed in speaking openly, expressing love freely, and connecting with people from all walks of life. From her, William learned that even a prince could be gentle, approachable, and heartfelt. But after her passing, he had to grow up even faster. He learned to stay strong in the eyes of the world. He learned how to carry grief in a quiet way. As William stepped into adulthood, his royal duties grew. He attended charity events, military ceremonies, school visits, and official gatherings. He met world leaders, community volunteers, and everyday people who simply wanted to shake his hand. Many people admired him for his good manners and his ability to remain calm under pressure. He had a talent for making others feel seen and heard, even in the briefest moment. That was something he inherited from his mother. Still, behind his polished royal image, William remained a person who felt things deeply. He cared about families who struggled. He cared about young people facing challenges. He cared about mental health and often spoke about how important it was to talk openly about emotions. That was rare for a member of the royal family. It showed that beneath all the tradition and ceremony, William understood the importance of honesty and kindness. Yet showing emotions did not always come easily. When he stood on the balcony of Buckingham Palace during national celebrations, he knew millions were watching. His face had to reflect pride and stability. If he appeared too emotional, too sad, or too excited, the public might misread it. People might think something was wrong or something major had changed within the royal family. So his expressions often stayed balanced, warm, but not overly joyful, thoughtful, but not too serious. This was the delicate dance that every royal had learned to perform. but life has a way of revealing genuine moments no matter how controlled things appear. On several occasions, William allowed his true feelings to show, often without meaning to. A quiet tear during a touching speech, a sudden laugh when something unexpected happened during an event, or a heartfelt expression when meeting someone who reminded him of his mother. These moments slipped through the royal curtain and touched the hearts of people watching. Many of these soft moments came when children approached him. Children did not care about royal rules or formal traditions. They saw William as a friendly adult with a kind smile. Some hugged him without warning. Others showed him drawings or small handmade gifts. Sometimes they asked simple, innocent questions that made him laugh. In these moments, William's royal composure gently melted away, revealing a man who appreciated sincerity and simplicity. He did not push these moments aside. Instead, he welcomed them, often bending down to speak at eye level with the child or sharing a warm laugh. There were also times when he met families facing difficulties. During charity visits, William listened to stories of loss, illness, or hardship. His face often softened, his eyes showing a quiet sympathy. He cared deeply, and people could feel it. These small gestures, placing a comforting hand on someone's shoulder or offering words that came straight from the heart, showed a side of him that protocols could never hide. Despite these heartfelt encounters, maintaining the royal image remained a large part of William's life. The pressure of representing the country, supporting his father, raising his own family, and preparing for his future role as king created a daily challenge. He had to balance being a public figure with being a husband and a father. At home with Catherine and their children, William could relax more freely. He could laugh loudly, joke around, and show affection without worrying about cameras. But the moment he stepped outside, the royal character had to be in place again. Even though William understood this responsibility, there were times when the reality of life made it impossible to maintain complete composure. The world had seen the royal family smile through ceremonies, but they had also seen them mourn during difficult times. William believed that showing a small amount of sincerity did not weaken the royal image. It made it human. It reminded people that behind the titles and duties were real people with real hearts. Throughout the years, William slowly helped shape a more modern view of the royal family. He believed in balancing tradition with openness. He spoke about personal experiences not to gain attention but to encourage others. He wanted people to know that it was okay to feel emotional, to talk about struggles, and to seek support. His honest approach, even when gentle, allowed the public to connect with him in a deeper way. Still, the royal curtain remained a constant part of his life. He walked between two worlds, one of strict public expectations and one of personal human feeling, and every time he broke character in a heartfelt moment, even for a brief second, people felt closer to him. They saw not just a future king, but a person capable of compassion, warmth, and sincerity. These rare glimpses of his authentic self did more than touch hearts. They helped redefine what royalty could look like in a changing world. And though William would always honor the traditions he was raised with, it was clear that moments of genuine emotion would continue to shape the way people saw him and the way he saw himself within the royal family. Prince William's life was filled with formal events, shining cameras, and carefully organized schedules. Yet many of his most memorable moments happened when life did not follow the script. These were the times when he let go of strict royal behavior for a little while and allowed his natural personality to shine through. People often loved these moments because they showed the real William, the one who laughed openly, showed kindness without hesitation, and connected with people in ways that felt warm and human. One of the most charming moments happened during a visit to a primary school. William had been invited to learn about a reading program for young children. He arrived with the polite smile everyone knew well, ready to sit with the students and talk about books. But children are unpredictable, and a small boy sitting next to him decided that the prince's polished shoes looked more interesting than the book they were reading. As William tried to focus on the story, the boy quietly touched his shoe and whispered, "Are these magic shoes?" William looked up, surprised, and then burst into a gentle, warm laugh. The teachers tried to apologize, but he waved his hand kindly and said, "I wish they were. They'd help me run after my kids at home." The children giggled, and in that moment, William was not a prince. He was a friendly adult surrounded by curious young minds. There were also times when William's natural humor broke through unexpectedly. During a charity event, a volunteer asked him if he could help plant a small tree. William agreed and grabbed the shovel with confidence. But as he pushed it into the ground, his foot slipped slightly and he nearly toppled forward. Instead of pretending nothing had happened, he laughed, straightened himself, and joked, "This is why they don't let me near the gardening tools at home." The crowd laughed with him, grateful for the moment of light-hearted fun. It showed that even someone raised in palaces could make the same small mistakes as anyone else, and laugh about them. There were deeper, more touching moments, too. William often visited hospitals, meeting patients of all ages. During one visit, he sat beside an elderly man who reminded him of his grandparents. The man had lived a long, eventful life and told William stories of his youth. William listened quietly, his face softening with respect. The man reached out and gently held William's hand as he spoke. For a few minutes, William forgot about the cameras and the officials standing behind him. He leaned closer, his eyes warm, and gave the man his full attention. It was a simple gesture, but it meant the world to the man's family, who later said they had never seen such a sincere expression on a royal face before. That heartfelt moment stayed with William long after he left the hospital. Another meaningful encounter happened when William met a group of young people who had overcome personal challenges. They shared their experiences with honesty and courage. One young girl explained how she struggled with anxiety and often felt alone. William listened closely and said gently, "You're stronger than you think, and talking about it shows great courage." The girl smiled through tears, touched by his kindness. William's expression softened even more, and he told her that speaking up helps others feel less alone too. His words were simple, but they carried deep comfort. People watching could sense that his encouragement came from his heart, not from a script. During public events, William sometimes faced unexpected surprises that brought out his human side. At an outdoor celebration, a sudden gust of wind blew the program sheets right out of his hand. Instead of pretending nothing had happened, he chased after one sheet with a playful laugh while others flew away. Crowds around him laughed too, enjoying a rare moment of royal spontaneity. William laughed along, shaking his head as if saying, "Well, that didn't go as planned." The moment made headlines. Not because anything serious had occurred, but because people loved seeing a prince behave like an ordinary person caught in an amusing situation. Animals also had a special way of breaking William's royal composure. During a visit to an animal shelter, he met a lively puppy that refused to sit still. The pup jumped excitedly, tugging at William's coat. Instead of stepping back or keeping his distance, William knelt down, gently held the puppy, and allowed it to lick his cheek. He laughed warmly, saying, "You're a little troublemaker, aren't you?" The volunteers were delighted, and photos of William playing with the puppy quickly spread online. His genuine affection made people smile and reminded them that behind the royal title was a man who loved simple joys. One of the most touching moments happened when William visited a support center for children who had lost parents. A young boy approached him shyly, holding a small drawing. The boy explained that he made the picture because William had also lost his mother at a young age. William paused for a moment, visibly moved. He accepted the drawing with both hands, thanked the boy softly, and bent down to speak quietly with him. They talked for a few minutes, and although no one could hear their words, the boy's face brightened afterward. William placed a comforting hand on his shoulder before standing up. The heartfelt exchange touched everyone present. It was one of those moments when William's quiet empathy broke through the formal expectations of royal life. Even during official speeches, William sometimes showed his natural feelings. During a charity dinner, he shared a lighthearted story about trying to cook dinner for his children. He admitted that his cooking skills were questionable, and the dish did not turn out as expected. The audience laughed warmly, and William joined in, smiling with genuine amusement. He went on to speak about the importance of family time, and his voice carried a gentle sincerity that listeners could feel. These small personal moments made his speeches more relatable and meaningful. There were also occasions when William's laughter was completely unplanned. During a community visit, someone asked him to try a local game that involved tossing a small beanbag into a basket. William accepted the challenge with a playful grin. On his first attempt, the beanbag missed the basket completely and bounced off the ground with an unexpected noise. William burst into laughter, shaking his head dramatically as if admitting defeat. The crowd laughed along, delighted by his willingness to have fun and not take himself too seriously. Through all these moments, big or small, people saw a side of William that felt warm, approachable, and genuine. Even though he had been trained to stay composed, his natural personality often shone through when he interacted with others. His ability to laugh, listen with empathy, or offer gentle encouragement revealed the kind-hearted man behind the royal role. These heartfelt moments reminded people that royalty did not take away his humanity. Instead, they made him even more relatable. William never tried to hide his real feelings entirely. He understood that the world was changing and that people appreciated authenticity. When he showed small glimpses of his true self, whether through laughter, kindness, or empathy, he helped strengthen the bond between the royal family and the public. His heartfelt moments brought warmth to formal events and turned simple interactions into memories that people cherished. These experiences showed that even in a world shaped by tradition, genuine emotion still had a place. There are moments in life that arrive quietly, yet stay forever in the heart. And for Prince William, one of those moments came during an event held in memory of his mother, Princess Diana. The world had gathered to honor her legacy, her kindness, and the positive change she brought to countless people. William attended with the calm, steady expression people were used to seeing, an expression he had practiced for many years. But something about this event felt different from the beginning. There was a soft energy in the air, a mixture of love, respect, and memories that seemed to wrap around him from all sides. The venue was filled with photos of Diana smiling warmly, hugging children, and speaking with people whose lives she had touched. William moved slowly through the space, stopping now and then to look at a picture. Some photos made him smile gently. Others made him pause longer than usual. These images showed moments from his childhood, moments when she held his hand or looked at him with deep affection. People around him remained quiet, sensing the emotion beneath his calm expression. As William walked further, he reached a small gathering of individuals who had been invited to share their experiences of how Diana had helped them when she was alive. One woman stepped forward, holding a simple white rose. She told William that she met Diana many years ago during a difficult time in her life. Diana had comforted her with kind words and stayed with her longer than anyone expected. The woman said that the memory of that kindness stayed with her and helped her become stronger. William listened quietly, nodding with gratitude. He thanked her gently and accepted the rose with both hands. Next, he met a young man who had never met Diana in person, but said her work inspired him to help others. As the young man spoke about starting a small charity in her honor, William felt a wave of emotion rise inside him. The young man's words were heartfelt, and William could see how deeply Diana's compassion had reached people she had never even met. His eyes softened, and he took a slow breath before responding. He told the young man how proud his mother would be to see her kindness continue through new generations. The young man smiled, and for a moment it felt as though the room held a quiet, shared understanding. As the event continued, William reached a display where handwritten letters were mounted on the wall. These letters were written by people who had been helped by Diana during her charity work. Some thanked her for giving them hope. Others shared how her gentle words had comforted them. A few letters were from people who had been children at the time, explaining how Diana's kindness made them feel seen and safe. Reading these messages stirred something deep within William. He remembered seeing his mother kneel down to speak to people at eye level, or take someone's hand simply to show she cared. Those small gestures were now written in ink, held in people's hearts, and remembered years later. William stood there longer than expected, forgetting for a moment that officials, journalists, and cameras were nearby. His eyes rested on a letter written by a girl who said she once hugged Diana during a hospital visit. The girl wrote that she felt an overwhelming sense of comfort that day, and that Diana's hug made her believe she would be okay. William blinked slowly, and his calm expression softened further. He remembered how warm Diana's hugs had been, how safe he felt with her, and how she always made others feel valued. As he stepped away from the display, a small group of people approached him. Among them was a woman holding her young daughter's hand. The woman explained that she brought her daughter because she wanted her to learn about Princess Diana's kindness. She then said gently, "Your mother helped so many people. She made them feel important." The little girl, too young to fully understand the depth of the moment, looked up at William and offered him a small handmade card that said, "Thank you for your mum." William took the card carefully. His eyes flickered with emotion, and he smiled warmly at the child. Something about the innocence of the gesture opened a door to a softer, deeper feeling inside him. He leaned down and said kindly, "That's very sweet of you. I will keep this." The girl smiled proudly, and William stood up again. For a few seconds, he looked at the card in his hand. It was made with bright-colored paper, crayon drawings, and a heart drawn in the middle. It reminded him of the handmade cards he used to make as a child, ones he would proudly show his mother. Memories rose like gentle waves, her laugh, her warmth, the way she encouraged him to speak openly about his feelings. He felt something shift behind his carefully composed exterior. It was then, as he moved toward the stage to give a short speech, that a small but unmistakable change crossed his face. His usual calm expression trembled slightly, as if holding back a deep wave of emotion. When he began speaking, his voice carried a softness that wasn't planned. He thanked the attendees for keeping his mother's legacy alive, and as he talked about her compassion, a tenderness filled his words. People noticed the slight warmth in his tone, the gentle pauses between sentences, as though he was carefully choosing his words from the heart rather than from a royal script. At one point, he glanced toward a large photo of Diana, one where she was smiling in her familiar, comforting way. For a moment, his eyes shone with a quiet emotion that needed no explanation. It wasn't sadness exactly, but a mixture of love, memory, and gratitude. His voice hesitated briefly, a natural human pause that came from honesty. He took a soft breath and continued, speaking with sincerity that touched everyone listening. Even those who had never seen William show emotion before understood the significance of the moment. After the speech, he stepped down from the stage and met more people who shared stories about Diana. Each story created a string of memories, connecting the past to the present. With every encounter, William seemed to grow more at ease with his emotions, instead of keeping them locked behind his royal composure. He wasn't breaking down. He was simply letting small, genuine pieces of his heart show. One older man approached him quietly and said, "Your mother had a gift for making others feel valued, and you have that same gift." William paused, touched by the words. He placed a hand gently on the man's arm and thanked him. It was a small gesture, but it spoke volumes. William did not rush. He did not hide behind formal distance. In that moment, he was simply a son honoring his mother's memory. As the event came to an end, a peaceful warmth settled around William. The heartfelt stories he heard, the letters he read, and the simple kindness of strangers all blended together to create a moment he would never forget. He felt closer to his mother, closer to the people she touched, and closer to the compassionate legacy she left behind. Walking out of the venue, the evening light wrapped around him softly. He felt lighter, almost as though the burden of always staying composed had eased for a short while. The heartfelt moments had revealed something important, not just to the public, but to William himself. He realized that breaking character for genuine emotion did not weaken him. It honored the person who taught him to care in the first place, and in that realization, he found a quiet peace that stayed with him long after the event was over. When Prince William began showing small glimpses of his true feelings in public, moments of softness, laughter, or quiet reflection, the people who watched him felt a shift. It was not sudden or dramatic. It was gentle, like sunlight slowly filling a room. For many years, the world had seen the royal family through a very specific lens: strong, steady, formal, and always composed. Their expressions were calm, their gestures controlled, and their emotions carefully protected. This calm appearance was seen as strength. But William's sincere moments began to show people another kind of strength, one that came from honesty and humanity. At first, people responded with surprise. They were used to seeing William standing tall during royal ceremonies, his face calm and thoughtful. But when he allowed his natural emotions to show, even briefly, people felt drawn to him in a new way. It became clear that behind the title, he carried real feelings and real memories, just like anyone else. People appreciated these glimpses because they reminded them that the royal family was made of human beings, not just symbols of tradition. As newspapers and media outlets began sharing these moments, the tone of their stories also changed. Instead of focusing solely on royal protocols, they began highlighting William's warmth, his empathy, and the way he connected with people. One article described his gentle interaction with a child as a reminder that kindness speaks louder than formality. Another wrote about how his sincere responses during charity visits made the public feel closer to him. These small acts of sincerity created a ripple effect across the country. People on social media also shared their thoughts. Some posted about how they felt comforted seeing William show his emotions, especially during events connected to his mother. Others admired how he balanced royal duties with genuine compassion. Many wrote that his actions made them see the royal family in a new light, less distant, more relatable. For some people, seeing William break character in heartfelt moments even encouraged them to speak more openly about their own feelings. It made them realize that showing emotion was not a weakness but a sign of strength. Among older generations who grew up admiring the quieter, more formal style of past royals, there was also appreciation. They respected William's ability to honor tradition while still embracing the values of the modern world. He did not reject the royal image. He simply added a human touch to it. His gentle balance of tradition and sincerity became something that brought people together across different age groups. Within the royal family itself, William's heartfelt moments also influenced how others were seen. People noticed that his openness encouraged Catherine, Princess of Wales, to speak more about family life and the importance of mental well-being. They noticed that younger royals seemed more willing to laugh openly or share small personal stories during public appearances. William's example was quietly shaping the future style of the royal family, one that felt warmer and more connected to everyday people. Many royal experts wrote that these emotional moments helped strengthen the trust between the monarchy and the public. Trust was something that needed to be nurtured gently. In a world full of change, people looked for stability, but they also longed for sincerity. When William showed his authentic side, even in small ways, it made people feel seen and understood. For example, after the event honoring his mother, clips of William's soft, emotional speech spread quickly online. People commented on how respectful, heartfelt, and gentle he sounded. They admired how he spoke not as a prince following tradition, but as a son remembering someone he deeply loved. That moment touched hearts around the world. Even people who were not familiar with royal history felt the sincerity in his voice and appreciated the honesty he showed. Schools, charity groups, and community centers that William visited also noticed the ripple effect. Attendance increased at events he supported, and more people became interested in the causes he cared about. Mental health organizations in particular shared how William's openness helped reduce stigma. People felt more comfortable reaching out for help or talking about their feelings because they saw a future king doing the same. His influence made a real difference in their daily lives. During new public appearances, people often greeted William with a new kind of warmth. Instead of only waving or cheering politely, they now shouted supportive messages, telling him they admired his sincerity. Some even brought drawings, letters, or small gifts that expressed appreciation for his compassion. These gestures made William smile with genuine gratitude. He always took time to acknowledge them, often bending down to speak gently with children or listening carefully to adults who wanted to share their own stories. There were moments when reporters asked William about his emotional reactions during previous events. Instead of trying to hide or downplay them, he answered with calm honesty. He explained that feeling things deeply was part of being human. He shared that he believed in being open about emotions when it helped others feel understood. His confident acceptance of vulnerability inspired many people, especially young adults who often struggled with the pressure to appear perfect. William's sincere behavior also influenced the way the world viewed the monarchy as a whole. For years, the royal family had been seen as an institution built on tradition. But through William, people began to see a more modern version of royalty, one that embraced compassion, empathy, and emotional intelligence. This new perception added depth to the long-established image of the monarchy. It showed that tradition and humanity could exist together, each strengthening the other. International audiences took notice as well. When William visited other countries, people felt more eager to meet him. They saw him not just as a representative of the United Kingdom, but as someone who truly cared about people, regardless of where they lived. His friendly interactions, humble gestures, and respectful tone made him respected on a global level. Many world leaders appreciated this softer approach, noting that genuine kindness often builds stronger connections than strict formality. Back at home, his heartfelt moments also encouraged conversations about leadership. People began saying that a future king who understood emotion and empathy could bring a refreshing perspective to the role. They believed that his ability to listen sincerely, respond thoughtfully, and connect with others would help guide the monarchy through changing times. Many felt reassured knowing that someone so grounded and compassionate would one day carry such an important responsibility. Despite all the attention, William remained humble. He continued to approach his duties with the same calm, steady presence he was known for. But now there was something more, an openness that made him easier to relate to. He did not let every emotion show, but he allowed enough sincerity to remind people that he understood them, that he cared, and that he was willing to share small pieces of his own heart. These heartfelt moments became part of his identity, shaping not only how others saw him, but also how he saw himself. Over time, he grew more confident in balancing his royal duties with his natural emotions. He realized that he did not need to choose between being a prince and being human. He could be both. And in doing so, he became a symbol of a new kind of royal strength, one that honored the past while embracing the warmth and understanding that the future needed. As the years passed, Prince William slowly discovered that every heartfelt moment he shared with the public did something quietly powerful. Each sincere smile, each moment of gentle compassion, and each honest reflection helped shape a new meaning of royal strength. People had grown up seeing royals as figures who rarely expressed emotion, who moved with perfect grace and spoke with careful calm. That image had become familiar, almost expected. But William's natural warmth began to shift that expectation in a gentle and thoughtful way. People started to realize that strength did not always look like silence or perfect composure. Sometimes strength looked like listening patiently to someone's difficult story, even when it stirred personal memories. Sometimes it looked like laughing openly during a light-hearted moment without worrying about cameras. Sometimes it looked like letting a soft emotion show during a tribute to someone loved deeply. William showed that real strength could come from being open-hearted, kind, and sincere. Through all his experiences, William came to understand that being a future king was not only about following tradition, it was also about setting an example for new generations. He wanted to show that a leader could be thoughtful and emotionally aware, that compassion and responsibility could go hand in hand. His quiet, honest way of communicating helped people feel comfortable, and his willingness to express gentle emotion made him approachable, even during very formal occasions. One day, during a visit to a community center, an older woman told William that seeing him show his emotions made her feel more connected to the royal family than ever before. She said she felt as though he understood ordinary people, their joys and challenges, their hopes and worries. William listened with gratitude and told her softly that he believed everyone deserved to feel seen and valued. That simple exchange stayed with him long after he left the center. It reminded him that sincerity had the power to touch hearts far beyond the moment itself. William also began noticing how his genuine approach affected younger generations. Many young people admired him not because he was royal, but because he showed understanding and empathy. Schools invited him to speak about mental health, feeling safe to open up, and supporting one another. His words always came from a place of real care. He told them that everyone, even someone who grew up in a palace, needed support at times. His openness made these young listeners feel more confident about expressing their own feelings. At home, his children watched the example he set. He taught them that kindness mattered more than perfection, that listening was just as important as speaking, and that caring for others was a sign of strength. When he spent time playing with them, helping with their school projects, or reading bedtime stories, he felt a sense of balance. His role as a father taught him lessons that influenced his role as a public figure. The love he gave them reminded him of his own mother's warmth, and he often thought about how proud she would be to see their growing family. Over time, William's approach inspired others within the royal family. They began speaking more openly about issues that mattered to them. They shared small stories about their lives and showed gentle emotion during important events. The monarchy, often seen as distant, quietly grew closer to the public. This change did not happen through large speeches or grand gestures. It happened through small, sincere moments that William helped create simply by being himself, even while carrying the responsibilities of a prince. There were ceremonies where he stood beside his father and other family members, following long-established traditions with respect. But now people noticed how he spoke to those he met, how he looked them in the eye with genuine interest, and how he stayed a bit longer when someone needed comfort. These details told a story of their own, a story that said leadership could be gentle and still carry great strength. One afternoon, during a quiet moment at Kensington Palace, William reflected on how far he had come. He remembered his younger years, when he felt the pressure to hide every emotion. He remembered the days when the royal image felt like a heavy cloak he had to wear flawlessly. He also remembered the turning points, meeting people who opened their hearts to him, hearing stories that reminded him of his mother's kindness, and feeling unexpected emotions rise during meaningful events. All these moments had shaped him into someone stronger, not because he held everything inside, but because he learned to let some of it out. William knew he would never abandon the dignity of his role. He respected the traditions that had guided his family for centuries, but he also understood that time was changing and that the world needed leaders who could balance strength with honesty. He believed that compassion was not a sign of weakness, but a sign of understanding. And he knew that by allowing himself to show human feelings, he was helping build a more relatable and modern image of the monarchy. People around him saw this change clearly. Royal watchers described him as steady yet warm, responsible yet accessible. They admired how he carried himself with calmness, while still letting his true emotions gently appear at the right moments. Community leaders praised him for listening deeply and speaking with sincerity. And ordinary citizens appreciated how he could share heartfelt advice or encouragement without sounding rehearsed or distant. Even international audiences, who knew him mainly through news stories, began to speak of him as a symbol of respectful leadership. He often represented not only his family but also the values he stood for: kindness, understanding, and emotional awareness. Wherever he traveled, people felt his quiet sincerity, and it left a lasting impression. As William continued his work, he found peace in knowing that he did not need to separate his humanity from his royal duties. He could honor both. When he comforted someone during a charity visit, it was not just a gesture of formality. It came from genuine care. When he laughed during a school event, it was not a break in royal character. It was a reminder that he was human too. And when he spoke about important issues, he did not rely on rehearsed lines. He allowed his natural compassion to guide his words. These choices shaped not only the public's view of him, but also the direction of the royal family's future. He had helped open a door to a new kind of leadership, one that embraced emotional connection while still respecting tradition. People trusted him because he showed them a true balance between responsibility and humanity. In the end, William understood that heartfelt moments were not mistakes or slips in composure. They were gifts. Gifts that helped people feel closer, gifts that reminded the world of the human heart behind royal titles, and gifts that honored the compassionate spirit of his mother, whose influence remained a guiding light in his life. And so, as Prince William looked toward the future, he carried with him a quiet confidence. He knew that being a strong leader meant more than standing tall during ceremonies. It meant carrying kindness, empathy, and sincerity wherever he went. It meant offering a warm smile, a listening ear, or a gentle word precisely when it was needed most. It meant remembering that the strength of a leader comes not only from tradition, but from the heart that guides it. This understanding became the foundation of the man he was, and the man he would continue to be for years to come.